listening.
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 The names.
The names. I
Okay.
still remember, and I still have a connection.
Okay, okay.
That's
So-
cool, because I
so-
want to do this with my kids.
Okay, so describe what, why does that relate to what we're doing? Why do these group norms relate to what we're doing overall?
If you're a principal, you better listen to us. Or at least appear to be listening to us.
I
Okay.
think for us, what it shows is, we need to start our year off with norms in our meetings, and so that way the expectation is set for us of when we have faculty meetings, when we meet in service, this is the expectation, this is what we wanna do every day. And so yesterday, those were kind of set, so we knew today coming in, like, I knew I needed to get that email out, so it doesn't, it's not here and on my mind, but I'm doing other things while the meeting is going on,
Okay.
so.
What other places might these norms fit? In your school setting, where else can we use that? If you're doing it just in your meetings, then expand it, where else?
Team meetings.
Teachers then can use it in their classrooms, setting norms with their students.
Does listening work in the hall? Does listening work in the cafeteria? Does listening work in the bathrooms? Does listening work on the playground? Okay, so, maybe this even fits into your behavior standards, because setting the norms and setting the expectations and then adhering to those gives you a framework, it gives you a structure, it gives kids the walls between which they can work. It gives them you're gonna stop me from doing something stupid. I'm gonna trust you enough, I'm gonna have the relationship with you so that I know that you've got my back. That if I screw up and I do something stupid, you've got my back. Because you listen to me. What was the next norm? We made a story. What was that?
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Okay, yes, and. Why does that relate to what we're doing? Or how does that relate to what we're doing?
I had my high rev coffee this morning, so I could go on all morning, but I think for the yes and, it's basically reminding us that many times we have kids and teachers and people coming to us where we're very quick to say, no, not now, no. So at least this gives us yes and then that time to think about, okay, how can we make this fit in, or how can we make something very similar work, even if, so I don't have to always say no.
Right, because what happens when you tell someone no? When
They
you
shut down.
They shut down. What you're telling them basically is, I'm not listening to you. I'm more important. Yes, ma'am.
This reminds me of training our candidates that, in the norms, we're going back to the norms, that one of the things that I learned to do with my students and with my own children was that, it's, being a teacher, they're always tugging on you, you know how that goes. And even as a department chair, the teachers were always tugging on me. But I've learned to set the norm that they would ask me once, and then, because they give me thinking time, so I don't give that quick answer that usually ended up being wrong, and that but I had to promise to come back to them, or they would stand beside me. They would come back if I hadn't given an answer yet. They would come back to me, and I would see them, and I would remember, and I'd either give them the answer then, or say I will, not yet, or something like that. And then other norms that are just the routines, like what do you do with kids who have late work or absences, those kind of norms that we have to teach ours. So when we're bringing in our block students, they need to see those kind of norms in the classroom that are pretty consistent across the building.
This is a little tidbit as administrators. I have to be reminded, because I'm kind of way out there, so I would ask teachers when they would talk with me, because they'd catch you in the hall, whatever. So my way of saying yes and was yes and write that on a sticky note and stick it on my desk. And then I will get back to you. So I didn't even have to, pronounce judgment at that point in time, cause then it would give me time to think about it too. Yes, and I want to think about that, or yes, and write it on a sticky note so that I remember to come back to it. Cause after 100 questions before lunch, then you can't remember. So, I won't remember unless it's written down. And then I also told my teachers, I don't check email most of the time during the day, because I am out doing, I'm not in my office. So if you need me immediately, I always have my phone, text me. And that's not the emergency, or we have those emergency procedures and stuff too, but if you need me, or want me to know something, text me, cause I always, and then, you got it, okay. Okay, so we had listening, and how did we listen? What was the big deal about the listening? What were the characteristics that we really had to focus on? Not talking, listening, eye contact, body language, yes. So regardless of when a teacher comes to you, a kid comes to you, a parent comes to you, they need to feel heard. They need to feel like you're listening. And if you're emotionally in a place where you can't listen right then, refer them to someone else if it's an emergency, or say, you know what? Yes, I hear what you're saying. I will come back to you, I promise. I just can't do it right now. Whatever, okay? You be real, with them, okay? So then we have listening, yes, and what was next?
There was one that I wasn't sure if it's a norm, but it really stuck out to me, just about the idea of being present. Like turn off your cell phones, answer your email, like you said, email needs to go out because we're here. And that really stuck out to me, because even though I hear it a lot, it's hard to not, as principals, we were always doing something else. We're listening and we're texting and we're taking care of this issue over here. So I think that idea of just being present, being here was big.
And that one I even thought of, as I was going home, and I thought, you know what? I'm so grateful of the people that were here yesterday, because you chose to be present. And it's a choice. It's a choice. And so, next time I do that part, I'm gonna choose to be present. Because it's a choice. This is a gift for you. This learning, this professional development, this ambiance, this collaboration is your opportunity to practice your craft. And teachers need to see that you are a lifelong learner, just as you want them to be. Because they need to watch you walk the walk, not just talk about it, but walk the walk. So today I want to encourage you to think about what your needs are as a person. The profession comes last. You're not your profession, you are your person. And so what do you need to do to take care of you? Because if you can't get yourself in a place where you don't have to worry about what you're doing, your needs, your personal needs, you can't be an effective leader. It starts here. And you model that for your teachers. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you're being stressed and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so we talked about listening, we talked about yes and, we talked about choose to be present. What else? There's two more.
Talked with the equal circles, the
Okay.
equal.
I just said big circle, little circle. That is what you're looking for. You're looking for equal circles. How does that have relevance for what we're doing? Tori.
Somebody with a diminished circle is automatically on the defensive. And they're not gonna pay any attention, they're not going to listen, because they are defending their stance, or whatever it is that they're trying to do. They're trying to justify it, rather than listening and trying to solve a problem.
Absolutely. How do teachers feel when you do a walkthrough? Very
I don't
nervous.
even notice them. I don't even notice.
Okay,
I've had walkthroughs and I didn't even know they were there.
let's have a conversation later today about that. I'll put that on for our lunch discussion, because sometimes the way we set up that walkthrough process and check the box, okay, I'm checking to see if you do this, I'm checking to see if you do this, checking to see if you do this. I'm I'm not a rat in a cage. You know, I'm a professional and I know stuff, you know? I know some stuff that she doesn't know and she knows some stuff that I don't know. And I can see behind her what's coming, that tidal wave. If she treats me with it in the big circle, then I'm like, Dr. West, get out of the way, there's a tidal wave coming. But if she doesn't, then I'm like, she's gonna get drowned right now, you know? So you think about you have to look at, your teachers will have your back if you have theirs. And that's the equal circles. Kids will have your back if you have theirs. And the first thing kids really have to figure out is, do you have my back? Or first chance you get, are you gonna send me to the office? Or first chance you get, are you gonna be screaming at me in the hallway, you know? Raising voices automatically stops the listening, stops the conversation, whatever, so, okay. So we talked about the circles, and we talked about one other thing, what was that? I'm trying to think too. Listening, yes and. Circles, choosing to be present, and. Maybe there's only 4, maybe I'm hallucinating.
I think there's 4 too, but I wasn't here the whole time. I know you
Okay.
ended with being present, and the one before that was big circle, little circle, because
And what was before big circle, little circle?
The yes and.
Okay, so there's our own for. Thank you very much. See? Ed, I apologize for making that mistake. Hey, gotcha. No, I didn't, I screwed it up. Okay, so keep those norms in mind because as you said, if you set, now do you have to use those norms? No. If you like them, use them. We're trying to model. So everything you see today and yesterday, if you like it, use it. Tweak it to fit. Because we're in this together, hate to tell you. So, we're here to help, and you are the ones on the front lines. You are the ones that need to be able to see what's gonna work, what's not gonna work. It's gonna be different for each of your campuses, but there are gonna be some general themes. And so we need to work on that, okay? And we will help, like, but can't do it. I wanna keep listening, so, okay? Anything else from yesterday that you wanna bring up? Other than you're still stressed, and you're trying to figure out how in the world you're gonna fit all those minutes in, right? Patricia?
No, but now that Faith's in the room, just, we did talk at the end about how we could get more support for the teachers that are not in STEM, especially with the math. And just where to start, I mean, them, how to ask questions, how to have, using more that kind of, model for delivery, and we brainstormed a little bit about maybe, Dr. Brown, right?
Dr. Browning.
Browning, on maybe some Fridays, but, yeah, that's something that was.
We were looking more like K2, that hands-on, manipulative training.
So does this sound like anything I have said over and over and over again to both of you?
Yes, well, we are going to work out, I promised them that they will leave with at least some ideas of a plan and what to bring to you. Mix It Up does not have the money to do what you want. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing it. It's not gonna be, can we do this? It's how can we do this?
Right.
And what are you gonna do with the resistance?
Well, that's one of the things we'll talk about. We're gonna
I
work
don't
on
think
that.
there's going to be a lot of resistance. I think our biggest, hurdle right now is the budget. It really, and I hate blaming the budget, but we've gotta figure out a different way to be able to afford, because we have so many priorities that it's hard to prioritize which ones are immediate right now and which ones aren't. So that's, we have to use money for certain things that we're seeing are huge, like literacy. We cannot ignore literacy. So we just have to come together and say, like, she's spoken to me about writing grants. But do that on my own with everything else that is on the CNI plate. So if we come together and say, this is what we want, and let's look for, then we could all take part in that and do it together. Because we've had these conversations over and over and over again, and about starting it with K1 and 2. Because I think what they're doing in 5th on up would be great to start in the primary to then bring
Yes.
that. So, and I appreciate what you emailed out last night too. So, there was something else I was looking at that somebody had sent me of a resource that has open-ended questions. So I think even just starting with something
Yes.
like that, like here's an open-ended question, here's manipulatives that will fit, would help with our K1 and 2
Ross.
teachers.
We moved you.
Right here.
Sorry, I moved your cheese. And if you left your stuff, you have to find it on the table.
I brought it.
Oh, good, good, okay.
Well, actually, we're going to get into questioning again today. I don't know if we'll be here when we do that.
Okay.
We are. My turn?
Yes, now it's your turn.
Okay, so, to continue with, some of the discussions yesterday, the, NSTA has lists of approved science reading books. This is one. Actually, Mark has a 4 or 5 that they borrowed, and Denise left in Mark's office, so at some point, we hope to get those back. But here's one that I happen to have at home, and I'll pass around, and you can see I'm writing art and inquiry.
That's
This
where
is
that book
science.
came from.
This is a science book. So the idea of integrating across, and I don't, as I said, your librarians have to buy books. And they can buy books from NSTA, and that's what I have on there.
And actually, if you each wanna send me the names of your librarians, what I did last year is, there's a great picture book, it's one of the ones that you sent me for 4 or 5, but they even have it for K3. And it says these are great picture books to have for these topics to teach. And like I sent it on to Rachel Grubbs, cause that's the only librarian I knew the name, and said, hey, if you're gonna be purchasing books for the library, please purchase this teacher resource and then look at the books that are associated with it. So,
And they have the big books,
yes.
not just these science books, and the big books for kids, or to use with children, I guess you would say. Anyway, so it's very easy. It's nsta.org, right here. And then, if you go into search here, they will have the bookstore. Let me find the book. Okay, so right over here to the left, you see books and journals. So you can go into the science store and you can search by discipline, physics, chemistry, whatever, and you can search by grade levels. So they have a ton of books. They make a lot of money on books, but they're good quality books. They're all vetted books. I'm sure NCTM probably does also, but I'm not familiar with them. So just nsta.org, and what I know NSTA has is that you can buy a crate or a box of books that have odds and ends in it. And when I looked through it, I thought, okay, I like this one, but not that one, and this one, and not that one. So, but your librarians like to buy boxes, not individual ones. So you need to look and see, if they've got a box that you like better than others, or maybe you can buy all the boxes or whatever. But we've been vetting science trade books for decades. We have a whole list of them, from the last 20 years. So there's plenty to choose from in terms of individual. So, any question about that? That was one of the things that came up yesterday. The other thing that came up, that Denise and I were talking about this morning, as you know, I'm in a lot of schools, and I'll tell you what impresses me when I go to a school. One of the things that impresses me is the signs on the doors with the teacher's picture, their degree, and their university. That is a more professional looking school. There's a lot of things that go into that, like clean hallways and clean, not trash outside the schools, you know, those kind of things too. But these room signs, I don't think would be very expensive, and I think it might, you know, help to change the flavor of your school, to a more, professional level that you like. Also wanna mention professional dress. When our student teachers come into the classroom, so probably on either your campus or Suzanne's campus, we have dress codes. They could not wear what I'm wearing today. They could not wear tight pants like this. They cannot wear t-shirts. They can wear collared shirts, but they can't wear t-shirts. We have a professional dress code because we want them to think of themselves as professionals, and we want students to think of them as professionals, and other teachers to think of them professionals. And how we look says a lot to the public about how we're viewed as professionals. We'll come back into this a little bit later on, this one. The elementary videos, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, and I think, you know, they're little short vignettes, so I think you probably could choose some. They have things on questioning, you're talking about questioning, they've got a whole range of them. And it might be like the video that I showed you yesterday, there's some components of it that you might agree or disagree, but it's a good fodder for discussion. What are best practices that you see? What are research-based recommendations that you see or that you don't see, and how you might change it? I'll look at they have a lot of elementary ones, so I've looked at some of the science ones, and I can tell you which ones that I looked at and that I might recommend. I'd be glad to share that with you. Is there anything else in terms of these videos that you might want us to look for and share? Notice he picked up the bug book out there. You're in a biology building. Can't resist. I'm watching them though, they didn't even walk off with it. Things are safe in our hallways, so it's kind of interesting. So, okay, any questions about this? All right, so we're gonna be busy for a little while, so why don't we take a bathroom break quickly, and then we'll come back. And you need to sign in, and if you didn't get your t-shirt yesterday, then you need to get your t-shirts today, collared shirts, professional shirts, and then your white t-shirts for our field trip uniforms. Vanessa Malo should be here any moment, so if she comes in, I'm probably not gonna stop and introduce her till we get to some kind of break, so we'll carry on. Okay?
Good luck. Like extra coffee?
Well, okay, so I usually do just coffee with Sandra, Keurig black. I have creamer. I can't have black. So they have my
Consider black.
and then I get down to the shell across from Mr. Walker, and that's where they have the hot rep. Fill it up, but then I put my little cream in. I have to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I go with sweet cream and chocolate.
Somebody need to turn their phone off? What's that? Ding, I heard a ding.
I'm sorry, that was my computer.
Oh, your computer.
It's muted now, okay.
Just secure the email to talk about these for next week.
They'll sending me sales notices from Travel Smith. He is funny.
Do you want, me to pick up Dr. Watson's shirts or just wait, I'll see him next week, but, or just wait and give
You
him
can't
a
have it till it comes.
till he comes. I don't wanna.
Choose to be present.
It's like our teachers that, if they don't come, they don't get
They don't
stuff.
get. Do I get any?